Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to The Reason We Learn. I'm your host, Deb Philman. Welcome to the channel. If it's your first time here, welcome. Please consider subscribing. I hope that you will. To those of you who are returning, thank you so much for being here. And you already know, and the newcomers are about to find out, this is a channel where we cover all the things going on in education in America and talk about what we can do to make it better. Today, I have my Wednesday co-host you've probably become familiar with, Anne Taydus, otherwise known as Virginia Warrior Mom. This is our grand finale show of the Defund Ed.gov series. It's episode 6. If you've not seen the prior 5 episodes, I strongly recommend that you check them out. That's where you can look and see all of the stuff. In other words, if you want to see what the meat of the curriculum or what they're doing with the kids, we cover that in those first 5 shows in great detail. Today, what we're hoping to do to wrap up is tie it all up with a bow and explain to you how this stuff gets funded and the little interrelationships between big tech corporations and the federal government. So you can start to put it together for yourself. You'll decide what this means, but we have our own theories about why they're doing this in terms of screening our kids and all that stuff. What I want you to do from here on out, though, because part of doing this, part of getting together and hosting these shows was to introduce you to Anne, because Anne has her very own website. And what she has done, she's a crack researcher. You'll see if you read her bio. And she has put together a website, and here it is, VAFCF. Okay, that's Virginia for Children and Families.org.
Because she got first, just children.
First. Sorry.
I wish we could deal with the families.
Yeah, right. Okay, right. But the children. And she is a concerned mom. She started researching things in her own state, in her own county, and went down several rabbit holes and discovered what we've been presenting in these last 6 shows. But she's going to keep up that work on her channel. She has a YouTube channel associated with this website, so look for it as well, VAFCF as a YouTube channel. And she's going to continue doing shows over there on her own to do more show and tell and introduce parents to what's going on and to help you fight back. There are forms on that website that you can use to fight back. So please do check it out. And go and make sure you subscribe to her channel as well, because from this point forward, you're going to need to go there to find her. But she's been very generous to come here and to help my audience understand what she has found. And today we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Anne.
No, you've been amazing, because it really took you and me on Twitter, like I am with people like, hey, I'm here. I need somebody to pay attention to Virginia.
Right.
You've been amazing, because you have, and everybody that I've met through you has just been amazing. And you've taken your time, and I don't know how, I'll never be able to thank you for it, but
just keep working, keep doing the thing. Get the parents informed, get the parents feeling
kids are out.
Powerful, y'all. You have this. You got this.
In 6 weeks, I went from maybe save it to get your kids out, but keep fighting. Like, I am an abolitionist. There's no, like, for what, I mean, it goes, so I'm with Deb, but I will continue to wreak havoc on these people, because my children are paying the price currently. So my mind has changed entirely. So, all
right.
But yes, it is all connected. And it is very connected up into this one little symbol that goes like at the dollar sign. And it's disgusting. It's scary at a like scary level. So we're going to tell you how it all connects.
Shall I bring up the Distance Learning Consortium first? What do you want me to show them first? All right, let's go.
Yeah. Let's go.
Let's dive right in.
All right.
So I can make this bigger.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got.
This one here, I found, now I went and spoke in Orange County, Virginia, and that's how I do things in Orange County. This is from California, popped up, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. So this was like the most concise, like obvious slideshow I have ever found, that goes through, I mean, you'll see it goes through social emotional learning, and then it jumps right to the whole child, and it shows you how they interlap, and then it goes right in. I mean, and we all know that the whole child is one of the big the Z word that we'll get to. And we know that Castle is. So it's, if you want to scroll, and then it gets into what's really frightening is it starts talking about the National Association of School Psychologists, the school counselors, the mental health aspect of what I think should be protecting our children. And that's another part of what we're going to bring it all together, is to show how these associations are all in it. There's nobody left to protect these kids. The principal,
right, except us.
Oh, except
parents,
us. Correct.
Their parents, individuals, right? We what we're learning is maybe not to rely so much on institutions and organizations like we used to. And I'm optimistic. I'm looking forward actually to kind of renaissance of the individual because of this, but that's me, the cheery optimist. One quick thing, Anne, do you mind if I just make sure people know that whole child is sort of code for we're going to deliver your kids healthcare at school?
I showed you. It's now the whole, they have it now. They're giving drugs in jails, like maintenance, and they're calling it the whole patient. Like it is. And that's like one of those like when I started this with you, my buzzwords were like, oh, diversity, equity, inclusion. Now I'm like, when you say, let's come to the table, whole anything, future, generate future ready learning, like all like things that I didn't even know we had a community in school here. We have 10 of them here.
Community schools, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know we had them because that's how slide. Like, so, I mean, it's my whole shift has been, hell no, get them out. I don't care. Like, right. I'm going to wait tables. I don't care. Like, whatever at the cost, get them out. Like,
all right. So, should I keep going? Tell me where to stop, what to talk about. I mean, I'll analyze.
I just want to show people how quickly that they are. How it's arrogance at this point. Like that they go to. I mean, the multi-tiered system. But yeah, this right
is
here.
So interesting. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. I get. You know me. I get stuck on words. But
I know. I'm worried. You have
the strength of the team is each individual member. Okay. The strength of each member is the team. What?
What did I learn from you, straw man? Like,
well, I don't even know if that's it. It's just is this? The strength of each member is the team.
There's no I in team, but there's me. Like, it's one of those like,
the coming together is a big. My point is where you finish a sentence is with the important thing you want to leave people with. Right. So like the individual members, but
it's like
the team, and then here coming together is the beginning. Staying together is progress, and working together is success. There's that activism thing. Strong and cohesive teams. No one can whistle a symphony. It takes a whole orchestra. You get this? Like collectivism is better. Collectivism is the goal. All right, let's keep going. All means all. There it is.
I had seen, and that's another thing is that for me, I was like, yeah, because that was an argument a parent put on a poster in Hanover, transgender, like all means all. And I was like, no, that's like you're like kind of agreeing with them, like it doesn't mean what we think it means. But
this is to your point in the beginning that the whole child, whole school, community school model, when they say all means all, what they mean is every aspect of your child's upbringing should be centered around the school. And look at all the professionals who are going to have jobs because of it. It's like a little employment, collaborative. That's basically what they're doing. It's a works program for people who went to college and got degrees in supposed problem solving things and are finding out that there aren't enough problems for them to solve. So they're going to make some.
Well, it's like, first, do no harm. I would think that there would be like one code of ethics for educators. No, the AFT has one, the NEA, they all have them. But then the psychologists, school psychologists, school counselors, there's not one code of, some of them are doctors, I would think, like first do no harm, but no, they have there's so many code of ethics out there. And Adrienne, I'm going to have to get with you and we'll dissect that. But it's been mind blowing.
Look at this, Anne. Inclusive academic instruction and inclusive behavior instruction. Now, we used to think that by inclusive, they meant, hey, let's welcome everyone. But look at what it means now. They mean including all the tiers of support: teacher, counselor, psychologist, social worker, 4 tiers. include them all in this academic instruction. So here's some important things. Remember, nobody above tier 1 knows how to instruct. That's not what they went to school for. And I don't mean to, do the appeal to authority thing, but it matters. Instruction is a thing. Okay. Yeah. So they're not teachers. And then behavior instruction, let's flip it around. Teachers are not behavioral specialists. Right. They're not counselors. They're not psychologists. They're not therapists. So they are inverting so many things. And then social emotional instruction, when they say inclusive, they mean every professional in the building is going to do all of these things: academic instruction, behavioral instruction, and social emotional instruction. This is practicing medicine without a license. Okay. And this is being a teacher without a certificate. And ordinarily, I'm not big on, government certification and so forth. But the good thing about it in this setting is at least it puts up some boundaries against what you pointed out, sort of like unethical or, behavior or doing things that are not appropriate. They're not age appropriate. They're not situationally appropriate. They're just not appropriate.
Yeah.
That's what that inclusive means. It doesn't mean like,
I was driving real quick out to Orange to speak, and let me tell you that going to the country does not mean that you're going to a safe space. Let me trust. We'll get into that another day. I kind of told you about it, but and I was sitting there and I was listening to people, and I was trying to understand what they were talking about, and it's so backwards there, like that. I was able to see what I don't see here with because we're so public with it, that it was children like 15-year-old coming up talking about how they're pan, poly, whatever, and telling the school board that to out them to their parents because they had written a resolution. And I was sitting there like this, and I haven't been like that in a long time, but to be able to see round 1, when I say is complete, like it's so frightening to see like the actual like like what we've been talking about, to actually to see it and to like read about it. What I hate is that I made this point yesterday, as I said, have you ever seen an actual transgender person standing up for this at a school board meeting? And it just popped in my head while I was doing a live video on Facebook, and I don't know anybody that has. And it's because if you look up like WPATH, it's like the worldwide whatever for transgender. I just can't remember I'm not being disrespectful. I just can't remember all these, shortenings. And, but they even said that you cannot do this without a mental health professional. This is what made me so angry about it, because of the misidentification that they said nobody in school, these are like the transgender people. And it got me thinking to like, there has never been a transgender person at a school board meeting advocating for transgender children. It's their straight parents but they got me thinking that I was like, why are we not saying these people are saying no? I don't care what the teachers say. When you have the organization that you go to for everything else, they're the transgender people.
True. But in fairness, they get death threats. So the flip side of it is,
like it's like
these folks are dealing with a double whammy, right? So first of all, it's kind of like being lumped in with a group of people you don't agree with,
right?
And then everyone says, "Well, why aren't you speaking out?" It's kind of like, I didn't ask for this crap, I didn't ask to be the spokesperson for sane people, right?
No, I get
it. So I agree with you. I think the absence is noteworthy, and I think we should call it out.
That's what I'm saying.
I totally agree. I think it's a really astute observation, and it's definitely noteworthy because if this really were true, if this were a real thing, that's what you would see. You would obviously see it. But I think I don't really fault them in the sense, I'm not saying you were, I'm just saying I wouldn't, because what they're up against is the same people who are screaming at you and screaming at me, only they get screamed at twice as hard.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like when you're a woman and
when you're outed from your own community. Like when I say out, I mean, because that was my experience in detransitioning, is what you're doing to these children, the suicide rate you're going to see in these children. You didn't do them a service. You locked them into an identity they can't get out of, because the most unforgiving community is the transgender community when you try to detransition. And so it was just very. it was just very like mind blowing to me to have these children. And then I had a swarm of like 15-year-olds come around me and want to lecture me on this with their parents cheering them on. I was like, I'm an adult. And I was like, get back up.
Yeah.
Get me out of here, because I'm not going to be on the news. Like, listen, you're in my face and trying to, man,
yeah.
I was blown away. But
see these circles. I want to call it these circles because you'll see these again and again and again now in all kinds of different diagrams, and they'll have different names. But I really want people to pay attention to the fact that the individual is nowhere in this circle. The individual child does not exist. We are going from classrooms, so we're already with a group, okay?
Yeah.
And we're working out. Where is the individual child? Not here. So then when you see this outer circle, the visual makes it look like, okay, we're all, you know, working outwards, and they lighten the color to make it seem like, you know, the intensity is in the classroom or whatever. But really what this tells me, and everything else I've read from them tells me, is this is the most important. The big circling outside that kind of swallows everything is the community, this communal thing. And the other thing I want to point out, aside from the missing individual, is how incredibly complex these processes are. And even when you go back to this with all this stuff, what is a common thread in education today is an obsession with these kinds of structures, these kinds of processes and frameworks and diagrams and intricate relationships. It serves a couple of purposes. One is that job make work program kind of thing that I described. You're looking at just hundreds of millions of dollars worth of professional, you know, titles to implement this. So there's an incentive there as far as dollars. You're looking at an enormous amount of power beyond the parent and layers of power to peel back before a parent can get to the bottom of what's going on with their individual child. It's like, how many different people do I have to talk to find out who's been talking to, touching, or impacting my child in some way, shape, or form, which makes it seem even more daunting to the parent. Like, where do I even begin? It's huge, right? And even if you got to the classroom teacher says, well, but I've got the school policy. And then the school policy says, no, I have this social work policy. And then I've got the community. But by the time you get done with this level of bureaucracy, the family is drowning in bureaucracy and process. And what no one's talking about is the fact that the child in all this, the reason the child's missing is the child is the product. The education isn't the product. This is about turning your child into something, not giving 100%. Your child something.
Yep.
And so when we talk about money, and we talk about all the money that this giant circle represents and all of these tiers of support represent, your child has been monetized to consume that amount of money. It's just a way of thinking about it that I would like people to consider, because I think it helps get away from this all looks very official and important and helpful, you know, which is what they want you to think.
Right. But like, I found it interesting in researching, I found that the 2008 Democratic National Convention, that the night before, Bill Gates hosted a next gen learning. This was in 2008, and I had no clue. And now Arn, he was invited, but who's the lady that you and James always talk about? I can't remember having him, who was going to be, they thought was going to be Obama's Secretary of Education. Somebody help me out. Anyway,
I don't know.
They didn't invite her, and so this was in 2008. Gates in 2008 hosted, and there was only a select amount of. This was the night before the convention started. And they had a conference, and yes, I have the proof. I have all the evidence. I have everything, but and they did not invite Linda Darling.
Right, okay, Linda Darling. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and she was, I guess, like
it's Linda Darling Hammond.
Yes,
I think that's her name.
Yeah, and so before you know
Where's
it,
Wiki?
She was out. But it was interesting researching Cardona, because you have to have a doctorate to be a superintendent,
Mm-hmm.
but the man taught for 10 years, was an assistant principal, and is now running the country. And it's like putting those things together about like, it's what Jillian Balow is the same thing. This, VDOE head, state superintendent, but she's not a doctor, but our county ones have to be. But I found it interesting how far back the Gates next gen learner, like how long, but this is just me, and I was just in La La Land still back then. Right. But how far back this stuff went, like, but what I found interesting about this one right here is that I've never looked at the bottom part of the circle, okay, like classrooms, and then you swing under, and then it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? And it's like, okay, mm-hmm. And then it's like schools, scholastic culture, practices and policies, family caregivers, authentic partnerships. So they're not, you're drawn to the top where it's like, oh, they want to involve family. And no, they want to partner with you as your parent. No.
You don't want to co-parent with the government?
No, I don't have a BDOE shirt. Like, that's why this one mom that spoke in Orange, she said, you can't out my child to me. Like, I gave birth to them. Who in the hell do you people think you are? And we have to go back to common sense, is that, I'm sorry, but what is, but the next one is when if you want to scroll, the next is when it jumps straight from Castle to foster the whole child. I was like, well, there you go. Like, so we go straight from Gates right here. Because we know that Castle, Gates, Common Core, it was all UN initiative, no matter how much they want to say it was governor, state led. No, it wasn't. But if you scroll right down to the next slide, it's foster the whole child. Like, oh, bam, there it is.
There's the individual finally.
But it's like they took the whole, nope, there you go. We're just going to jump at it for you. But slide share, is that the one? Sometimes I find them great stuff. Not if I didn't know any better, I would think it was wonderful information, but people tell you who they are. And when they do, listen.
Because we hear something like whole child and nobody questions the premise. And you know me, that's my thing, question premises.
Yeah.
But first of all, is it the appropriate job of the government to worry about my whole child? Or was it your job to provide them an academic education and just keep them safe all day, basically, right? Second of all, what exactly is the definition of the whole child? Because, obviously we're seeing that they think it includes their health care, mental as well as physical, and also their sex ed. So, we parents, when they talk about whole child, they mean it, just as Anne said, they mean it literally. Like every single solitary thing about your child is fair game for us to stick our noses in, to pry into, to gather data on, and to influence. So if you thought the child was your child, it's not. Your whole child belongs to the community.
Yes. And that's like the whole, when you look at the whole child, it, like the actual thing, and it has like the food program, it's very like, well, maybe they do just want to give food to the underprivileged. But the problem is that especially now that Biden has tried to tie it in with the transgender thing, is that it's very blatant. If you know it, is that if you know the data piece of it, is that when I say they don't care about any of the children, they don't care about actually feeding the poor children. They want to collect data on parents and finances. It's more data collection, because I can see the free food that they're giving these kids. It's disgusting. I would rather my child have one, it's not quality, healthy food. And so that's where the whole free lunch thing came in. And I was like, what that does, it makes it look nice, but hidden behind it is the data that you have to give to get the food. That's good, because we know that poverty in CPS terms is a crime. They will remove children for poverty instead of helping them. So it's like me and my CPS child sex trafficking brain, all of a sudden I start going firework. I'm like you start seeing the big, okay, well, that makes sense. It looks nice, but it's not.
Well, and this is a statistic that is relatively meaningless. Between 50 to 60% of students do not receive treatment due to stigma and lack of access to services. Well, how do we know 50 to 60% of 50 or 60% of what? All the students who have a legitimate diagnosis outside the school,
Correct.
who came to the school? Are we literally talking about you believe that 50 to 60% of the students need psychiatric care and they don't have access to it, which is kind of a straw man, because they don't need it. They don't have access to it because they don't need it. 50 to 60% of the student body is not mentally ill. That is utterly ridiculous. And if they are, increasingly, it's likely because of these people.
Correct. It's funny you say that, because we have the HPV requirement that's not required, and I've been battling them. Yes. But we had 4 counties report it as required last year when they came out with the boy one. They did not report. They did not. I have reported it to the VDH. I have reported it to everybody. You are responsible for every child. And you know what? Because it is that you said that is that the assumption that we're going to offer it as a requirement, not required, because parents are for equity. This was equity in the New England Journal of Medicine back in 2011, is that so all children have the opportunity to get it. Well, one doesn't belong in schools, but it's funny that you mentioned that about the assumption that all kids need it, because last time I checked is that you could not get gonorrhea no matter what they try to tell you, sitting on a toilet seat at school or in school. And that's, but yeah, it's interesting that you say that, is that it's the same argument that they try to give, is that we're going to give it to everybody so that everybody has a chance to get it. Well, not everybody needs it, or it's none of your damn business in the first place.
Well, exactly. So and schools have increasingly taken things under the school umbrella, the education umbrella, that really aren't, first of all, aren't education, aren't the role of government, whether it's under education or even healthcare. It's really not the government's purview. And yet, they're using the word access, which implies that without them, you have no other means of getting it.
Correct.
It implies that they are giving you something you want that's otherwise withheld from you, like it's a special, wonderful gift, and they don't remind you that you're paying for it. You're still paying for it, whether you wanted it or not. Only now you're paying for people to get things they never asked for, they probably don't need, and many of them definitely don't want. And they're going to be interacting directly with minor children who cannot consent, while they have your children in an in loco parentis status, meaning they're
because
the
of
child's
FERPA
parent.
and Obama, they gave the school the right to consent for these like surveys, is that it says parental consent must be had. Well, that's Obama. And
Logan's on the ball here. Check this. He says it's all very complex, but it's simple at the same time. They want to minimize free thinkers who hold their own opinions. These are the kids who are less likely to keep their mouths shut and conform. Absolutely 100%. And also, Logan, they are sorting and screening to find the ones who are less likely to keep their mouths shut and conform. And they're calling them, they tell them they are not strong. They're not resilient. They're in need of further instruction.
Yeah.
That's what's happening, because they're not other centric. They're not other focused. And they are pathologizing things simple as shyness or introversion or just none of your effing business, whatever personality, and making that a problem. They're problematizing independence.
Yeah, and individuality. You know how we caught the early warning sign last week? Is the more I researched on it, that's literally what they're called. They're called
early warning sign. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these DESA and this panorama that they're doing, and the T scores they're spitting out, they're literally called early warning assessments. Mm-hmm. And it was a thing. I had a conversation with one of our administrators here in Chesterfield County, and he had said that, and it didn't click to me a couple weeks ago, and until we caught it, or I think it was last week. I was like, and the more I looked it up, damn, there it is. Early warning assessments. It's one of those things you don't think to look for, because social emotional assessment, you're not going to find anything. But damn, if it's not under early warning sign assessment. Early warning for what? Well, right. If that was working, we would have, you think that there would be less school shootings and stuff, but these assessments, my daughter approached my mother and told her, this was 3 days ago. I went to pick them up, and she said, Anne, Carly needs therapy. Why? She told me. Where did she learn that? No, you're 6th grade. Okay, this is on top of her thinking she has generalized anxiety disorder. And her last day in Chesterfield County, I literally got down on the ground and kissed it. But I said, no, she doesn't, Mom. And I had to pull one of those moments of just be quiet. You have no idea what you're talking about. She's not traumatized. I've done nothing I don't like, but I'm glad that I was able to do that because 2 years ago, the same thing happened. And I tried to get her into therapy before COVID. And so I've had to hear my mom be like, meh, 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 and then questioning myself this whole time. And now I can be like, no, she doesn't. Just no.
Well, the other thing we need to do is make ourselves some t-shirts that say normalize good parenting because they have problematized that too. I hate to keep using that word problematize, but it's what they do.
Yeah.
They take things that are absolutely normal, like puberty and teenage angst and life sucking sometimes, reality in
Sixth grade girl,
particular.
okay?
Right.
You have generalized anxiety
middle
disorder.
school.
It's the worst thing ever
Sucks,
for everybody.
right? And they are taking these things and they're pathologizing normal things and they're normalizing things that are absolutely not normal. And I don't say that even in a judgmental way. I mean, if you have body dysmorphia, you have body dysmorphia. That is a condition. That is a thing that you need to have addressed with care. But we don't say it like, just like I wouldn't say to the anorexic, oh my goodness, yes, absolutely. You're an anorexic. Let's go sign you up for liposuction. You know, we're not going to normalize your body dysmorphia when you think you're fat and you're not. Why are we doing it when it's gender? Okay, but we are. And instead, when a parent comes along and says, let me handle this myself, or let me try to love my child, let me get my child some care privately, let me see what is going on with him or her. And maybe, you know, if this turns out to be the case and they're an adult, then okay, so be it. But they're 12, you know, or whatever. And no, we are taking your child and putting them in a group home because you are obviously a terrible, you know, unjust parent who does not love them enough. There are taking good parents, loving parents, disciplinarian parents who provide discipline.
Parents.
Like,
that's just
period.
it. Like, I don't have to explain to you.
Yeah, let's normalize that again. For years we heard parents are not involved enough. Parents don't pay enough attention. Parents are just like phoning it in. So now that we step up to the plate and say, okay, I'm not phoning it in. I'm here. I'm really concerned. I let you guys do it your way. And now I'm seeing serious problems. My sixth grader's coming home and saying she has generalized anxiety disorder. What the hell are you teaching my child? You look, you see that she's had a presentation about generalized anxiety disorder. I'm sorry, but anybody, even adults, if you saw that presentation, you go, I wonder if I have generalized anxiety disorder because it's so general. The way they put the slides up, you would assume it's you. It's like going to WebMD to find out if you're sick.
Stress means anxiety. Like that's the way they equate it to a sixth grader. Like
exactly.
Oh, you're stressed. You should breathe, and then if not, you should go get therapy. Like
exactly. So therefore, you know, parents, and then there are kind of two groups of parents. You have the parents. Sometimes they're called mama bears, papa bears, whatever, who won't take no for an answer. They're like, you can call me all the names you want. I'm here. And then you have those who would love to do that, but they were educated the same way, or they just don't feel like they can. They don't feel powerful enough in themselves. They don't feel like they have the right, you know, vocabulary or knowledge or time available to push back on this. They're still questioning, like, maybe I really don't know what I'm talking about. I don't, you know?
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of it is self-doubt. Like I've been told
that breaks my heart.
Yeah, no, I think that I was like that for a while, especially like being called a racist, you know, like a year and a half ago, would have shut me down. But I knew I was like, no, I'm not. And that makes no sense. But what I knew was I had been gaslit for a decade in a previous relationship. And my relationship with those people felt the exact same, is that they're telling me to believe something that I don't really believe, but your mind does get so twisted after a while. And that's why I do what I do all day, every day. And I have people thanking me. And I'm so like, I love it when people thank you. It really means a lot. But I'm like, these are your children. Please come out to the school board meeting and tell them what's going on yourself if you want to thank me for all this hours of work I do. Like,
right, exactly. It's not that I say the same thing. It's kind of like, just, I'm not an activist. I'm an educator. Or a teacher. I don't like the word educator. I'm a teacher. I'm trying to get people to learn and think. I'm not saying any kind of call to action because you need to voluntarily decide what to do. It's best for your family. So the only action I would suggest you take is start digging into this and look at your own family and act individually, act in your own home. It's not about some kind of group thing. Now, I did want to point the thing out. It says who are school-based mental health professionals, and they say that, SBMHP hold a pupil personnel services credential. And what's interesting is there's no evidence that this credential has gone through the same training that a therapist has or a diagnostician. So in other words, in order to diagnose a child with the kind of problems or diagnoses that require mental health services in the first place, you have to go through certain training. I really would love to see what this training is. And so what I would recommend to parents is find out who the professionals are in your school building and go take a look at what their certifications required in terms of their professional training, because I would bet you they are operating above their training grade.
Remember we talked about like
coloring
that
outside the lines.
BDOE? In Virginia, you can go into a school under that. Remember we talked about 6 college credit hours, which is 2 classes. So you can go from a social worker to teaching in a school with 2 classes, not specific classes. Pick 2 out of 30. And that qualifies you to go into a school as a social worker and to do the work that you do as a social worker. You have to take 6 hours, which is 2 classes. Right. That covers you to be able to go teach children.
And this is very interesting because you see how they have the tier 1 supports, et cetera. Well, tier 1 is teaching. And what they're doing is morphing it into this mental health support. Tier 1 has always been teaching, just your standard teacher in the classroom, academic supports. Supplemental supports used to be tutors, the kind of aides that you might get pulled out because you were special needs, possibly a counselor if you're having some difficulty that you need some guidance as far as your study skills or some issues going on at home or whatever, but you don't necessarily need a psychotherapist. You just need a little extra help. And this intensified support previously would have been handled outside the school. I mean, you might have a school psychologist, but historically that's been for people who really can't access psychological care outside of that because of whatever, they're foster kids, the parents are really poor or whatever. But what they're doing now is they're saying universal support, evidence-based priorities and practices support the academic, behavioral, and social emotional success. Tier 1 was never meant to support behavioral or social emotional needs, ever. This is new. And I don't mean new like today. I mean new since maybe, I don't know, the last 5 to 10 years, depending on the district. And it's just happened. It just kind of happened. And nobody really saw it happening. And parents probably didn't even know about it. And so now they're seeing things like this and they don't really know what they're looking at. So that's why we're trying to explain to you
all means all.
All means all. And your entire classrooms full of students don't need this.
Yeah.
And so you've got the money component, how much money is going into paying for this and all the curricula and stuff that goes along with it, and how much time is being devoted to this that is taken away from academic skills. And
hours.
It just hours and hours and hours. And when you point blank them, when I say them, the people who are proponents of this, what you will hear many times unapologetically is, so be it. In other words, if they come out at the end of the year and they do not have proficiency in the academic subjects, but they've had their social emotional learning, if they're like the definition of nice people that we've come up with, then we've done our job. They're prioritizing, and that's why it says here, evidence-based priorities. Notice how they put that first.
Who's?
Right. They're not your priorities, they're theirs. So the priority is no longer, and they're very clear about it now, it is no longer individual academic achievement. And this is the biggest shock for most parents. Most parents are operating on the assumption that the school has the same goal of helping their individual child be the best student they can be academically first.
Yeah.
Right. And that the character stuff is kind of, as long as they're not disruptive and mean and bullying, as long as they're just kind of, there, right. That the rest is up to the parents, and that they're only going to get involved if the kid is really, hurting themselves or hurting others in the process of the learning. That's not what they're doing. They want each and every kid, the whole child, to fit the model of what a socially just, active, civically active person is first. Academic success takes a distant backseat.
It's the same thing. Like if you don't live in a state like me that has had the transgender co-ed bathroom column like Virginia, which shocks people, then you wouldn't be put in the place of why are we allowing 0.4% of 1.25 million children. And I'm not saying that anybody's rights are over each other, but you have to look at the numbers and state that why does their supposed need, which is not even correct because you're destroying these children and you're hurting the ones who you say that you're helping. But why does 0.4% supersede 99.6%? And that makes you a bigot. No, it doesn't. It just who gives what the right? And then this is what I told the other night. There has to be a middle ground, and nobody here has sought to find it. You sit at the table as a school board, and you sit there until it's figured out, because that's your job. Why is that so hard to understand? Is that these children, that even if you believe in your heart that you think you're helping, you are harming 99 point whatever percent. But the number's going up. It's not because it's in the water. It's because it's a trend. But what gives you the right to supersede the safety of children? And I'm not saying it's a transgender issue. It's a co-ed bathroom issue, just to that point. But is that education should be, we sit at the table until we can provide for all children in a fair and appropriate public atmosphere. We can't talk about civil rights, and no, it's everybody. Like, it just blows my mind, the stuff that people think about one person deserving something else, and screw everybody else.
Social workers, just so you know, from a financial standpoint, have been lobbying as a group. They have their own association nationally, and they, as you can see, this is the California Association of School Social Workers, but there's a National Association of School Social Workers, and they have been lobbying school districts. They've been lobbying state boards of ed. They've been lobbying in general to have their resources used on school social workers, as more than they already are. And then, it's like a selling point. We need more social workers. There's a video that we did about that as well. And I would say I'd be very skeptical of that, because social workers are the people who can remove your child. They have the most clout in terms of being able to say, well, we have a problem here. We're going to need to remove your child from the home. Teachers can't do that. School counselors can't do that. Even school psychologists don't have that kind of power. And it used to be, you might have a school social worker, like a school social worker, and they wouldn't necessarily be in the school unless you had a large urban school. There might be one for the district or a couple for the district. And if there was a referral, they might come in. But to have more than one, we're talking dozens in a given building.
We're talking about teacher home visits. Okay. I can guarantee you those are not going to be teachers coming to your door, because we've redefined teacher now. They're paraprofessionals. Okay.
Remember back here where we showed you how it said this all means all, and the multi-tiered support? That's what they mean. When they're talking about inclusive academic instruction, there are social workers teaching classes. So they now get the designation of teacher. And if they come to your home, make no mistake, they have governmental authority. They're all mandatory reporters, but that usually means due process. Like, I've got to see something, right? But they're now looking for things.
Yes.
So this is...
Nope.
This is very intrusive. The notion that they're there to help you or help your children is a farce.
No, it's like the community portion we talked about, I think in the beginning, that we were like, they don't want to talk to us. How are they involving the community? No. What they mean is, when they involve you as a parent, they're good. Linking is that they're going to come to you. That's how they're going to involve you as a parent, is that they're going to come to your house. And I'm not like, the amount of times that it has said, I'm like, does that say home visit again? Oh my God, it's everywhere. Like, literally teacher visits. No. How about you have a face-to-face teacher conference with me first, which evidently that went out the window after kindergarten. Why are you going to come to my house? Like,
and remember, they're assessing everyone. So when you see this little circle where it says assessment, consultation, intervention, prevention, educate, okay, they're assessing all the children, not just children who are manifesting some kind of problem, and it's obvious, and the teacher saying, as it used to be way back when I was in the classroom, where you'd observe and see that a student was struggling or acting out or something, and you might go to the school counselor, or you might pull the kid aside and have a conversation depending on the level of behavior, and you would assess that child. They're assessing all of these children. They're doing it using subjective assessments, as we've shown you in the previous videos. And now we have all these people involved. So again, if you go looking for things, you're going to find them. And notice this is plural: school psychologists, and this is what they provide: academic and behavioral support. Now, if you got one-on-one to the one individual child, we probably would all say this is good, but it isn't, because they're screening everybody. They're looking for more ways to make themselves employable. Let's be honest about it. Let's be honest about it. We have a lot of people who went to college and graduate school to get these degrees, and they just aren't enough jobs in the open market for them. But you know where there's a giant, endless pot of money that's almost impossible to deny or shut off the spigot for? It's education, because all you have to say is the children. You're denying the children this much needed tier of support. How dare you, after all they've been through? Because
if you don't know what you're talking about, you would. That's why most parents.
It would sound good.
And I'm like, then you join a squad, and you roll in deep until you figure out how to talk about it. Like, not everybody was built with like me, but you can come with me. Like I said, I will come to you. But please do something. Get out. We learn when we get out of our comfort zone.
So we've covered. I want to get before, because I want to make sure we have enough time, to make sure we draw the connections with the money. This is to show you guys how much money's needed. I hope in showing all this, what we're doing is saying expensive. I hope what you see is like dollar signs, social workers, shrinks, multi-tiered supports, data, right? Isn't that what triggered you, as you said, this looks expensive. Where's this? Who's paying for all this? Right? So we have down here, who are all these people? These are just all the people.
Those are California. If you let's see, I don't want to type in CEF.org and about. I don't know if you guys have heard. I had not heard of them, and it wasn't until I was in the Committee for Education Funding, and then go to about.
Yep.
And then it's the oldest and largest coalition of education associations in existence. They provide strong and unified voice in support of increasing the federal investment in our education. I was like, the oldest? Okay. But then if you go and you click under CEF members.
Here.
Over here under member. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Look at that. So when you talk about lobbying, okay, so you have the school counselors lobbying, and we don't have time to show you all that today, but everybody, we knew that the NSBA and the NEA, that they were lobbying, our school board representatives. These are all, look at the American Counseling Association. Oh, there's the AFT, the librarians. This is the one that I was like.
The American Psychological Association Services. Guys, these people are all standing with their hand out at the Department of Education saying, give us money, or you guys need us in the schools. We need more education funding. Give us education funding.
People who want more federal funding in your schools, why in the world would you think that you could go to your superintendent, or you could go to your school? I mean, blown away. But if you go
and
down,
that's just the A's.
Go down. That's just a lot of
A's. That's B. Oh my God.
But big ones that people don't know that jump, like Council of Chief State School Officers. That's the state superintendents. That's one that's big. If you see that, if you click on, and that's in a lot. I mean, they are paid. It's over on the right.
This one
right there. Yep. That logo you will see everywhere. Chan Zuckerberg everywhere. I mean, I'm talking, and Chiefs for Change is another one. And but
Where's Chiefs for Change is here.
yeah, that's a logo that you'll see. I'll show you all the funding.
Look, they even have a thing up here, COVID-19 Relief Fund. And they probably, if you look at it, they're probably going to talk about how much money, you know, they've gotten and all this stuff. Donorbox.org. That's what it's going to. So it's opening really. So oops, it was opening really slowly. Hang on. Oh, look. They want you to give them money in COVID relief. They're busy lobbying to take your tax money and they're asking you for more. That's fabulous.
You haven't even gotten to the ends when you get down to the National Association and you got the principals.
How about the college admissions counseling?
Music, elementary school principals. You got the private special ed. You've got the secondary school principals.
Rutgers University, all by itself.
They get really specific on some of these. But like NEA, that, you know, duh.
YMCA, Texas A&M, University of California.
The PTA though is what I figured out is like we're talking about like the iron triangle of like is that I knew that they had gone extremely too far to the left. And that's why
these guys, the National PTA, if you guys are not aware,
it's not what it used to be.
It's not what you think it is at all. It is just another wing of the Democrat Party.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Oh my God. It almost makes, it's like if you had a union that claimed to be for parents, but it was really just a go-between between the actual unions, the teacher unions, and the left-wing parents to augment. So if you're wondering, why is it that the left-leaning parents in my district are so powerful when they want to run for school board or they want to voice their opinion or they, you know, like nobody's, you know, canceling them or doxing them because they have the support of these folks.
Right.
That is why. So these people give them money for their campaigns. They recruit them. They give them all kinds of slick marketing material. These people are just making sure that the parents toe the line for the union and they'll support those parent groups. Where's the one for those of you who are independents? There isn't one. They don't care about you. They're not interested in your needs. That's why, see, letter to Congress, you know, calling for action on gun violence prevention, which is basically gun control. So they're very left-leaning.
The school psychologist or the counselors actually just put out a huge statement about that. And remember we talked about how wrong it was that Cardona had issued a statement? The counselors have now issued a letter to him pleading. I'm like,
now, Nancy has a question. I want to real quick pull this up. Nancy Smith says, does this funding flow through the state DOE? Yes, it does. I mean, they don't give money directly to districts, correct? Or do they?
No. It goes, it's through ESSER. Every student succeeds.
Right. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing the list of people who are lobbying the federal government to get ESSER funds or other federal funds to be sent to the states, but very often earmarked for these specific purposes. So
we don't know anymore because like we saw in Florida, DeSantis said, no masks. If you mask the kids, you're not getting the ARP money. What did Biden do? He came in and paid those counties anyway. Right. So, I mean, what it's supposed to is really all I can say. But
he violates federalism all the time. You guys, this president could be impeached like 75 times over. So it's like, and I'm not a political person. I'm just telling you from an education standpoint, they are coloring outside the lines on a daily basis, but we have been so distracted by so many things that are not really that important. So we don't see the things that are, and I'm not saying this is more important than inflation or gas prices. I'm just saying that, you know, when you've been like, they'll talk about stupid stuff and you miss it. Like you miss, for example, the Cory Booker legislation that's been proposed about comprehensive sex ed that is going to attempt to make a national curriculum with money attached, of course, for comprehensive sex ed. The federal government cannot make national curricula. That is not legal. That is unconstitutional. But if they make it voluntary and they tie a bunch of money to it, they're essentially doing the same thing. And if they make it a right, if they decide like Title I or Title IX or something like that, that it's your entitlement to a child to have access to sex education.
You saw the Looney Tune I shared on Twitter about the guy that's been lobbying for it here that says that they are entitled. Right. They are the people that were attached to our family life SOLs that I was like, hey guys, we need to get on this. And nobody.
Right. I mean, if they make it an entitlement, then Congress has to fund it in perpetuity or they have to vote it out. And good luck with that. I've yet to see one be taken out. I've seen them get defunded. I've seen things like we know Title IX has been gutted again because, or I shouldn't say gutted. It hasn't been gutted financially. It's just been extended to men. It's been extended to men now. But it was supposed to be for women's sports.
Right. But now it's like for the bathroom, like, no, that's until Supreme Court says there's how many genders are there? Because until there's another one, you can't compel speech. And same thing I told Fairfax County here is they're trying to suspend children who they cannot compel speech out of. I'm sorry, but the First Amendment includes compelled speech. You cannot make Loudon already won that argument with teachers a year ago. And they want to suspend children who will not honor another child's. Listen, until you can tell me how many there are and the Supreme Court says there's more than 2, you can't make a child say that, period.
But here's the thing. Your rights will only be upheld as long as, I mean, it used to be as long as you have a government that understands what its proper role is, which is to protect your rights, whether they like it or not, whether the politics flow that direction or not. Absolutely. Now what they've realized, and of course they've impoverished so many people with inflation and everything and kept people very distracted and fear, obsessed, is that your rights only count if you can find a lawyer that you can afford to defend them. And so the trial lawyers lean left. They also don't like to lose. They have similar financial concerns. And so good luck finding one to represent you or your kids in a civil rights action. Most of us don't have deep pockets like that, and there aren't enough public interest firms and foundations that are going to be like-minded. They're going to fund you. Now add to that the fact that the school districts are getting so bold, they are appealing decisions. They're kicking the can down the road so you can win your lawsuit. This happened to Thomas Jefferson High, and as we know, in Fairfax County?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they won. They won their suit saying that it was a racist admission policy for a public school. And even the judge, before the decision was handed down from I guess it was a jury, told the school, you better have a plan to change your admission policy in case you lose. They didn't develop a plan. So when they lost, they're appealing. And one of their claims is, well, we couldn't change. So they're appealing. So how many kids are going to suffer in the years, plural, that it's going to take for this appeal process to play out? They are just running out the clock, hoping they can stack the courts or get new justices in, or people grow weary or run out of funds and give up. So we used to be able to say, I'm going to file a lawsuit. And now it's like, oh,
you can't. I've tried to pay one. Like, I will sell everything I have with the amount of stacks of data to go after James Lane under Cardona himself. But then the thing is that if I found a lawyer, a pit bull willing to go after it at federal level to link him to the whole state of Virginia and take it,
right.
How long am I going to fight?
Once upon a time, we had investigative journalists working for papers like the Washington Post. Now what we have is middle school gossip girls and boys bickering back and forth on Twitter at the Washington Post. We don't have Woodward and Bernstein. So we don't have people who are going and saying, this is a massive level of corruption and we've got to stop it. And this level of lobbying is all these groups with all their deep pockets lobbying against the American people and their children to create a jobs program for the people miseducated by these colleges and universities, also on the public dime, by the way, with, federally guaranteed loans that they're now all wanting to be forgiven. And they let them go ahead and all get educated at something there wasn't a market for. That is not our fault. That's not our fault as taxpayers. It's not our fault as parents. But yet we're ending up paying for it in more ways than one. All right. So what else can we show them? This is pretty compelling. Anything else?
I think that we should go to the money.
Okay, where is it? Which one?
I'm going to show you how. Just type in chanzuckerberg.com. I'm going to tell you how easy this is to find, guys. I am not a genius. Now this Chan Zuckerberg, now he has been allowed to be an LLC, which means he does not have to fully disclose everything. So when you go over to where is it? Grants Ventures, I think it's under
Oh, wait.
about our initiative. I think. How we work. Yeah. Grants.
How we work. Okay. Grants.
Yep. And then you'll just I think there's a K through 12, or if you're under the initiative, I think it's all K through 12.
It's
initiative. And that's the thing, is that they're under different names. You have the Chan Zuckerberg, like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they have there's like 5 different ones, which is where they. But
here we go. Education. Here it is.
Yep. Now scroll right down, and right under the numbers, you'll find the first one. That's a problem.
This one here.
No, keep going down. I think it's under a new way. Keep going. Sorry.
A new way of life.
No, keep going. It's going to say, you're going to see it. It's going to say right there, the Superintendent's Association, ASA. That is like, here we have the VSBA, the Virginia School Board, or the I'm sorry, the VSAA, the Virginia State.
This is the whole country. This is the American.
Yes, that is the that's the extension of like your school superintendents have like a group in your state. So these are not like the state superintendents like we just saw with the chief state council. These are these are the individual district, so the individual counties that are being influenced. The main decision makers are getting money.
Why do they need $400,000 for these superintendents? I mean, that's weird.
Because that's where the web apps and the data comes in, is that if you pull up,
they make decisions. They make decisions about what's going to be in there, and they stand by them, and they persuade their boards.
Yes,
they persuade their boards to do it, and they also probably use that money to get elected. This one is interesting too, though. This one, look, $200,000 to work intensively with 6 public school districts, diverse in size, location, experience, with SEL to deepen their work in social emotional learning, provide internal program growth through communities, blah, blah, blah. Except there's a conflict of interest, isn't there, when you have Chan Zuckerberg giving money, $200,000 in a grant for the purpose of deepening SEL, when they also happen to do what with data over at Zuckerberg world? Okay, what else? We've got.
You can type. You can go all the way down, but the NGA I think has been the most disturbing. But the National Governors Association,
in here or somewhere else,
both of them, Gates and him, give enormous amounts of money to the National Governor Association. And
so where should I go?
Where you just were. It's under education.
Where I was just, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I took screenshots and I didn't realize that since they weren't PDF, I couldn't pull up on here. But if you go, the National Governors Association, NGA.
Okay, so that's probably way down under N. I wish they had a way to sub-search by education. You would think that would be a good thing.
Okay, there it is. It's under National Equity Project, but you can use your side scroll bar and just go down.
Yeah.
But it's under National Governors Association, $200,000 to monitor and analyze trends relating to education in the 2018 gubernatorial races.
What? This?
Yeah.
Why?
To analyze trends relating to education. Okay. And then there's a National Governors Association. Now remember, this is all he's reporting to you because he's an LLC. He doesn't have to tell you everything. So it'll give you a glimpse of what we're going to jump over to in a second. Now this is very good place to go to start to understand like how this stuff works. Is you'll like new school ventures is one. Anything like that. That is one that is when they talk about think tank. That's one that's going to involve Bezos's wife, Steve Jobs' wife. His widow, that they are all, that's where, they're a new venture fund. And then there's new venture fund.
Look at this, to provide support for publicly accessible equity-based resources.
There's not anything in there. There's literally not anything in there that's not, you can trust me, before I jumped on here, I was looking at all of them and just reading what they said, but there's not one single one on there that is not, equity, LGBTQ.
I'm curious. I love doing this. Whenever I go to these things, I do a find and then I type in equity. Whoops. Let me get it in right. So equity.
All of them.
And you have how many?
just gonna give you an
81
entire-
matches. There are 81 matches on this page.
And
And then if
before
I
you
had
click on the actual-
LGBT, oh, I don't get any for LGBT. Okay. But equity had a lot. 90 or 81. 81 matches.
I think one of the biggest ones I found, I think it was on here, is type in Camelback. It's very a weird name. I think it was on this one.
Camelback?
Yeah. It might be one word.
There it is. Camelback venture. We're just
yes. Now click on that. Yep.
Genius is equally distributed. Opportunity is not. Camelback is here to change that.
It literally goes to, it says BIPOC, or if you hold on.
Our manifesto. Ruthlessness.
But this is one that it is a venture. So this is where you start having, when I call it 3 degrees of Kevin Bacon, of is that's as far as I've gotten to where I can't connect a web app, anybody, because they funnel. So he gives money to them so that he doesn't pop up. And then they fund the web apps or the programs or the whatever that you see.
Right.
And so that's one that that was one that just caught me off because they're all like like blatantly like what they see. But that's one, when he says ventures, like that's the think tanks. But and yeah, the Koch brothers, I mean, don't sit here and think that it's all like Gates and Chan Zuckerberg. I mean, there's plenty of, I mean, this is a uni-party initiative on everybody.
Right.
But Emerson Collective, that is Steve Mackenzie.
Oh, hang on. I'm sorry. Hang on. I was trying to fix this. Somebody asked me to open the chat. So I was trying to figure out how to get this to where the chat was where they could participant modes. Yeah, anyone. I don't know that there's a way to do it. You just have to at each other. You just at each other. I mean, she said, "Can you please open the chat?" It is open. I mean, I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. So anyway, let me get back to where I was. I thought there was a way in here she was asking if they could chat with each other, but
yeah, ask Ego Brain. I don't ever know how to do it, so I'm just like,
yeah, Ego Brain may know how to do it. Okay, if you can't see them, I'm not really sure. You should be able to see the live chat feed. All right, where else can I go to show money?
Type in gatesfoundation.org.
Gates Foundation.
Now this one, like I said, when I first went here, because they are a non-profit philanthropist, but they make profit. It's all, and I'm talking about his is like the global level. Like we know that. But you can, so you can click on him, and he's under, let's see, About Us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you're going to find, I think it was About Us. Hold on.
Financials, or do you want me to go to DEI?
No, what? Hold on. I got to consent. Okay. No, I think it's under About Us, committed grants. And then you can go down and you just keep scrolling past that. And then you can pick whatever you want. You can type in the WHO and see how much he's given the WHO.
Well, I want to see education.
Okay.
What if,
so you'll go to division, U.S. programs, then grant topic. You can pick. But there's K through.
Early learning. Let's see if they have K. Well, I don't see K-12.
No, it's
school. No, doesn't say.
K through 12 education. Yeah, it's right.
U.S. education, poverty and homelessness, or
grant topic. It should be under innovative, under HIV. Keep going up. Oh, it's right there.
K-12. Okay.
Now. And then you can pick date. Like when I first started, I just picked like a year and a half and went through every single one of them. And then you can pick how you sort them though. Or you can
date, descending, committed amount.
Do grant E ascending, because that'll take you to the A's. Oh, first you're going to get to 100 Black men of America. You got to go through the numbers first.
Okay.
And you can, at the bottom, click 100, so you don't have to keep scrolling down, because it only shows you 10 a page, but you can.
Oh, I see. Show 100. Yeah. Okay.
And you can, that way you can go faster.
Okay.
But you like achieve, you like, so just scroll down, go to like achieve. That's one that is a think tank that will funnel money out to everybody, and you'll see how much money that they've given them.
Which one? Achieve?
Yeah.
This one, Achieve Atlanta?
Yeah. And keep going down. There's more.
Oh.
You don't have to actually click on them. Like we don't.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm just showing you. Yeah.
Oh, I hope I didn't like mess it up.
It'll make you real. But hey, look at Bellwether, Chalkbeat. So this is where like the 74 he's put in, like, so he owns the journalism, like, so
is like Castle in here? I mean, what I want to know is, are things like Castle and Panorama, are they?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Panorama, interestingly enough, is not under Zuckerberg, but that was Zuckerberg's first venture out of the gate as a foundation. And but no, that's an article that I found because I knew that it was funded by him. But but Panorama is funded by Zuckerberg. But but yeah, you can type in Castle. But I wanted to I show them the association, like the NGA, the National Governors Association.
Where is that?
Just go up to the top and search, probably.
Okay. Well, I want to see Castle because we talk about them.
Type in collaborative. It's not going to be Castle. It's going to be collaborative. The long name.
Collaborative.
Yeah, scroll down. Now, what's interesting is that.
Oh, I got to go to the United States.
Yeah.
Collaborative for what? If I do SEL. 10 grants. Okay, there's 10 grants having to do with SEL. And we've got U.S. Education.
Committee for Children.
There we go.
That second step.
This is almost $1 million. EL collaborative for this is Castle right here.
Yes.
There's Castle some more.
So it makes you wonder, like, okay, so those were go back
more Castle. Lots of Castle.
Right. But is that that they haven't stopped funding. But what they do is the seed. They seed stuff, they start it, and then everybody kind of takes off from there. Or they funneled it through somewhere else. But so yeah, Panorama is a Zuckerberg. I'll see if I can find. I sent you the article. But Panorama. But another big one is Rand.
Is it up here? I have to go up here. Rand.
I think you can type in Rand here, and you can see that Zuckerberg or Gates funds Rand. So whenever you'll find Rand as the funder or as one of the partners. That's how I find everything. Is I say so and so partner, and then that's how they word it.
Oh, look at this. Foundation invests in research and data systems to improve student achievement. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
I sent you that one because it
22 million in investments in research and data systems to help schools and districts gather and effectively use data. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And then it'll go down, and I think it'll actually list like EDUCAUSE and data quality. Oh, there's Gadara, data quality. Do you know how much that is one of the next to the WHO, DQC, our wonderful Secretary of Education in Virginia, that is one of the most funded programs by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
National School Boards Foundation.
Yep.
National Student Clearinghouse, ACT Inc. Oh my God. Educational Testing Services, Teach for America.
TFA, I figured out too. That's one that has been around for a long time. That is when you see Teach for America, it's like your bell should go off now.
Guys, you should actually go look at the Teach for America website at this point. You really should. Because if you'd thought way back when it was established, like, oh, this is good. They're going to give, loan forgiveness to teachers to go into areas where they have a hard time getting teachers. That it is a full blown left-wing activist organization out, paid for with your tax dollars. I know you're thrilled about that. So,
yeah.
In fact, I think I'm going to show them because no one will believe me.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Change the future. Okay. Oprah Winfrey Charitable Foundation partner to address social and emotional needs. I mean, do I need to go farther? So you can see how these things are related. Bill Gates helps pay for gives grants to Teach for America. Then Teach for America gets other grants from Oprah Winfrey. They're giving grants to CASEL. Then the Federal Department of Education is using CASEL specifically as the benchmark. Like, if you're going to get ESSER money, then your competencies that you're doing in SEL, like, you can't just go to my friend Jason Littlefield and buy his Empowered Pathways SEL program, which is about the individual. No. It has to be CASEL compliant.
Yeah. So you talk about,
that's our federal government
about standardized. What were you so mad about? But you want to teach one set of morals taught by who?
Right, exactly.
Bill Gates. Like, I don't care what side of the fence you fall on. If you can't look past your politics to see that there's something very wrong with Bill Gates being in charge of your curriculum, because if you don't think that he has the fingers in the pot, because Planned Parenthood is involved with what's going on. It's
probably not even like him personally. See, that's the other thing, you guys. It's like when we talk about things. But think about this, okay? You think about a thing as big as the Gates, family, right. Bill and Melinda Gates thing, or even Chan Zuckerberg. Now, who goes to work for these? Who goes to work for these foundations, do you think? Okay. And where are they coming out of? What schools? And what do you think, how do you think they were educated in those colleges and universities as far as their highest priority, fundamentally change America, right? So it's not that it's, Bill Gates is sitting in a dark room going, whoa.
Yeah. Well, he might be.
It's that, who knows? But my point is, it's that the people who are attracted to that kind of thing and have at their disposal billions of dollars are people who genuinely want to, first of all, they're 10,000 steps removed from you. They couldn't care less about you, the individual. They're not interested in your child. That your child is a meat puppet people widget. I'm going to say that a million times so it drills into people's heads, but they are using their money and very slick marketing materials to basically own your kid. Okay. So to continue to make money or pursue their political goals, one of the two or both, and who can tell the difference anymore? And so now that you see that this very private money is going into very public things that are also paid for with your tax. In other words, your tax dollars pay the salary of the superintendent who's getting big money from the politically motivated foundation to do very specific things that benefit the political interests and the financial interests of that foundation. And they are further giving support to groups that lobby, all those groups that lobby your federal government to get more of your tax dollars to further support their very private needs and desires. And you and your child.
We have a Loudoun County School Board who was found guilty of covering up a rape.
Yeah.
And Glenn Youngkin did not oust them. Like, can you imagine if it had been the other way around? Right. They would have been lynched. So, but not only that, but when he said you have to run early for election next year, now they're suing him back when they have been found guilty of covering up a rape that ended up in another rape. Like, that's the madness that you have to understand. Like,
that is so far down their priority list. It's like they change. When you see the word change, nobody stops them and says, what proof do you have this change is necessary? How does it benefit my child? Why is it so expensive? And why didn't you ask me? Or why didn't you, even come and tell us this was happening? Do you ever get the feeling that all of these players we've just shown you are operating as though you don't need to know? You're not in the need to know group.
But who do we get to care? It's like we talked that one of the first weeks about, so I have this damning FOIA.
So what?
Damning, right. What do you do with it?
They don't care.
No, they don't care. There's nobody to go to. And
the only one who cares, truly cares about your child is you.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I don't want to be like I said, I don't want to be the little like black pill dispensary here. I just want people to recognize that you have so much more knowledge and so much more power than you think you do in your own life and in for your own child. They are not going, you can't ask for it from them. There's no way to FOIA this well enough to do anything about it. Do you see how many layers deep it is? Their agenda is not your agenda. So the decision you have to make is, how do I, deal with this?
Right.
And I can't
Yeah.
answer that for any individual. I just want everybody watching this to know that you absolutely can find a way that doesn't involve engaging with these people. Now, you can say, well, I can't homeschool. It doesn't necessarily mean homeschooling. It doesn't mean private schooling. There's other ways. So maybe step outside the paradigm of school happens or education happens in a building and it happens between these hours and have it here, and start using this summer to really think, how do I disengage from this madness? Because they're not letting go. They're
No.
not interested in letting go of you.
And like I said, like we talked about the vafcf.org, like the privacy pack that I put up. Spend the summer filling out the paperwork so that if you are going to send your child back in the fall, which hey, I was thinking, I've been there where I didn't have another choice. I get it. But if you don't fill out these forms and force them, because they're going to be like, yeah, but if you have, if that's your option that you're choosing, at least, Nancy, I'll call you. I got a roadmap, girl. But so yeah, use these sources. I typed them. They're legal, like FERPA, COPA. PPRA. Like, it's not an easy solution. They're not going to be like, okay, let me remove your child from that. You still have to follow up. And they should be notifying you of these things, but they're not. And so you go ahead and you opt them out before they offer you the form, because under FERPA, you can do that. You send them, say, hey, you don't notify me of this, so I'm going to go ahead and opt my kid out.
Exactly. So. Well, guys, we have, this is basically what we wanted to show you as far as, hey, it's all connected. It's a ton of money. And hopefully you'll continue with your own research, use the tools, things like we've just shown you. Just go type in Chan Zuckerberg, Gates Foundation, and look up at, start digging around, go down some rabbit holes. That's all Anne did. But also please do go check out her website, because again, if you're looking for like a roadmap and your kid is in the school and you are looking for how to opt them out of things or how to find out more, this website is going to give you the details. Okay. You're going to have to scroll down
to ask your school board on on equity. Okay. So it has been, you can tell I wrote them, because you can ask them. You don't have to do it in person like I would in a school board meeting, but in an email. What does equity mean to you? What is this?
Yeah.
And then about the data, is that who ask them this? Who is a school official?
Right.
You'll have some that are dumb enough to still not understand where it's going. And then you'll have some that will blatantly lie to you. But there's a list of what to ask you, or who protects it. What are these? So even if you don't even know what the question means, ask it. Like,
exactly.
Just I don't mind. Like,
exactly. So, all right. And then once again, so go to this website, go to Anne's channel and subscribe so you can be notified when she posts a video premiere. She's not able to go live yet because she needs you guys to go subscribe and she needs to get more subscribers. And then when she can go live, she can do lives like this one, and she'll be having guests and doing other things on her channel. We're trying to like grow that. And then make sure you follow her at Virginia Warrior on Twitter, and follow me as well. And if you're not subscribed here, once again, I hope you'll consider it.
Tara Wrist. Like Tara Space Wrist on Facebook.
That's funny.
And then, it's a VA domestic war or VA warrior mom. And I hope I see you again. I'm going to miss you.
I'm here. I'm going to be moving more towards like, analysis and that kind of stuff. Like what you guys heard me kind of butting in and doing here, where I'm saying like, see this word, see that word. That's my specialty. That's my specialty. And Anne's specialty is look at the stuff I found. So, and you guys, you guys need that. Anyway, thanks everybody.
And, Frank McCormick got back with me with Chalkboard Heresy, and when he gets back, we're going to have a reunion and bring Frank on here. So,
okay, cool. Yeah, we'll have a reunion. All right. Bye, you guys. Have a great afternoon.
All right.